My name is Kristen Aro, and I'm calling this dredging work group public meeting to order at 6:02. So we'll take a roll call. Delia,
Present.
Keith,
Here.
Paul,
Here.
I'm here, Chris, and Bruce just popped in, except he's on mute. Bruce, can you hear me? Because you're on mute. Okay, well, we'll deal with that later. All right. So normally we approve the minutes of the meeting of the last meeting, but since we just recently received them, I recommend that we postpone them. Postpone any vote on that to the next meeting. Everyone in agreement?
It's a quick read, but I don't disagree, but it's a very quick read.
I didn't even look at it yet.
Oh, okay. I forget it. I
Yeah,
agree.
That's fine then. Yep.
Okay. Do we need to vote any more than that?
No.
Okay.
No, it
good.
actually wasn't on the agenda.
Okay. All right. I don't have the official agenda in front of me, but I know that the plan was to discuss and finalize our proposal, as well as to discuss the cost estimate from Sumco.
So we do
So-
have public comment first on the
Okay.
agenda. Yep. If there's any public comments?
Oh, right, public comments. I forgot about that. Any public comments? Okay, no public comments.
I'm here.
Hi, Bruce.
Hi. How the heck? I was driving. I had to pull off.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
we
I
don't
thought-
want any accidents.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll I'll try to get on as soon as I get to the house.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
I mean, I'm
Thanks,
going to
Bruce.
stay on, but
It'll just be silent, right? More
yeah,
or less.
probably.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, so no public comments. And Adelia, did you say you had anything else that you wanted to just?
No, no,
Okay.
let's go right into the
All
proposal.
right. So, Delia, is that something that you can share?
Yes, let me just give me a second. I'll get it up.
So it looks like there were some comments and edits to the proposal over the last couple days. So it'd be good to be able to discuss and make some comments, excuse me, tonight.
Okay, so are you saying the proposal?
Yes, thank
Yep.
you.
Okay,
Okay. All right.
Are you taking comments as we go through here?
I think we should let's go through each portion and let's just say, do we agree with the three dredging alternatives and that each of the three proposals include the following considerations?
I think the one that's missing on the is the Commonwealth Avenue access.
Oh, right.
Right.
Fishing Pier, Giroux, right.
so
Is
I,
that something?
yeah, I can put this in. I'm just going to see if I can close a few screens here and yeah, so we don't have the ability to put things into a chat on a town Zoom. Okay, so I'll make these changes. Otherwise we could all kind of work on it as we go.
Wow, good catch there, Paul. I can't believe we didn't see that.
Yeah, just a structural comment, and it might be in here again.
Yeah, but it should be under that because it's included, should be included in the following. in
Yeah,
each
did you want to have
proposal.
sort of a separate recreational amenities section, or is it okay just having those up in here?
I don't know. I'm open. What do we think is more clear? We could put a note at the end.
I just remember the dam removal proposal, I think they discussed the recreational, the trails sort of separately. I mean, it's fine here, you have it here, but it's just whether we want to put it into the narrative. I mean, it's fine having it in here because it's clear. Yeah.
Okay, but before we go on, we have in here, CCPA application XXX. Do we need to put in something more specific there?
So I guess what I was hoping was that people would kind of take some time before this meeting and flesh out these areas of XXs and, you know, things that needed to be fleshed out. Like, I don't think it's going to be productive to do that.
Okay,
Right
so I think we
now.
did that overall, but I don't know. Okay,
I think there's still some gaps, and I think there's some fleshing out that still needs to happen. I just think maybe rather than going point by point through this, we should be spending time on kind of broader issues that we need to be discussing, and then people should take some time to, you know, make some changes. I think they should be done in tracking mode so we can see where changes are being made. And then I think we probably will need to have another quick meeting before the 10th to just finalize and approve this. But I don't think it's going to be productive to go point by point through this document. That's my feeling.
okay, so then can I just ask a question?
Mhm.
Paul, is that information that you have, the CPA application number?
I have it, I just don't have it right. I'll get it to
That's-
you.
Yeah,
I
that's
have- I have the-
perfect. That'll be good.
Just put it into the application. I mean, into the proposal.
Okay,
I mean, I think those are the types of things we need to maybe just quickly go through. Because
Mhm.
otherwise, I think we'll be at this point again.
I mean, it just overall, I think it's clear what the proposal is and what
Right,
the alternatives are. You know, wording, I'm not gonna worry about the word, but I think it's clear what's in here. You know, so there are really three alternatives. You can consider them a base plus two alternatives or three alternatives. I guess the costing came in as a sort of base plus two alternatives, so.
Right.
Um,
okay,
And we can talk about that
yes,
yeah,
when we go through this.
right.
So I did make a change just here for some clarification. Someone had put in over the course of 4 to 5 years that CPC approved money, and I just put in it was, you know, this is what it actually was. It's 2020 and 2021. It was both. I just said town meeting approved it. I didn't put in it was capital and CPC, or CPA. But if people have,
Yeah, I thought that was fine.
okay. So, someone had put in this graphic, and the boundaries of Giroux are not accurate. And so I just did a new graphic that uses near maps, which is a better resolution, and it shows the parcel boundaries. So I left this one in here, but I would suggest deleting this image and just using this one.
yeah, it makes sense.
I'm okay with that.
Can we maybe label the rail trail like the other one then?
It's here, the FRT.
Oh. All right. It's a little hard to see it, but
Okay,
okay.
okay. That's fine.
Do we need to define for the reader what a step pool system is with a footnote or something, or do we just leave it at that?
Well, it says to improve the ability of migratory fish to navigate the Warner's Pond Dam.
No, yeah, I know what the purpose is, but I mean, I'm not sure what it looks like, I mean, as opposed to a fish ladder or fish elevator.
Maybe
mean-
we should include some form of picture.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
just for me.
There's plenty of photos of examples. We could probably just insert a photo there.
Yeah, I would
Who
do
would
that.
like to do that?
I'll look some up. I'll get one. Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So on this part right here, it says, is, okay, based on a rough analysis of Ladar topography and cut fill volumes prepared by EA, approximately 49,500 cubic yards of volume in the North Field is available from topsoil removal. Does that make sense?
No, I think something needs to be added to that.
Well, it's 49.5 for disposal, and then there's a separate sentence that's based on,
But it's not just disposal, it's everything. So that's not just topsoil. I mean, that's
well, that, right, that's,
that 49,000 yards has to accommodate everything. So let me reword that.
yeah.
Okay.
Paul, is this something that you can flesh out a little bit, or do you want somebody else to do that?
Well, no, I can flesh it out. It's a
Okay.
little bit fuzzy, but I think it's worthwhile putting that in there that
Yeah,
theoretically the timing of dredging could meet the timing of need of the subsoil, but I'll flesh that out.
Okay.
great.
Can we go back just a little bit for a second? Up to number 4. So it says topsoil will be stripped and stockpiled for use by the DOC with a minimum of 6 inches returned to the site following placement and dewatering of pond sediments to allow for future agricultural purposes. It is assumed that any necessary soil stockpiles will be placed in the adjacent agricultural field located on the south side of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. Topsoil stockpiles will be necessary, and subsoil stockpiles are a possibility based on future identified needs to be determined at a later date.
I don't know who put that in there.
Is that,
Yeah,
Oh.
I think that needs to, I don't understand that either.
I'm not sure you need all the details. What the main point there is that's topsoil stripped and stockpiled, and we have an area for stockpiling, right?
is that going to be in the south field?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so the topsoil will be stockpiled in the south fields, and any subsoil could be either stockpiled in the south field, or it could be trucked to nuclear metals.
I would,
Yeah, so that's probably something I added, but I think that was probably what I was trying to say is give you a little bit more detail, just say that stockpiles could be placed in the south field, but also potentially at another site, including Star Met. But we need more information before we know that.
okay,
So should I delete this highlighted section?
Yeah, that's probably easiest, just
Yeah.
delete it.
okay. All right. Okay,
No, sorry. So I'm not doing what I suggested that everybody should do, which I have been doing, but
good. Okay, so then we can keep going. Paul said he would check that out.
Yeah.
And number 10, I was thinking that it says that it says will be gradual on the edges to ensure safety, and shallow water habitats that allow aquatic invasive plant growth will persist until depths reach 8 feet and greater. I mean, is that
no, that needs to be reworded.
I think so.
Slopes in the ponds will be gradual to ensure safety in shallow water habitats. But I don't know what that means, to ensure safety in shallow water habitats. I mean, the slopes of the
Well,
ponds.
to ensure safety so that you don't, and it's safe to be able to walk in, or to be able to have a safe, gradual.
So I would say it slopes in the dredged area will be gradual, not in the ponds, right? And it's not for safety, it's because you can't construct it to be like this. It has to be more like, a sloped. It just won't
Right.
hold without some sort of stabilization. So I think it slopes at the dredged area.
Okay. All right, so why don't we, I mean, I'm happy to look into that a little bit more. Okay,
I just wonder if is that a level of detail that we need for this proposal?
Probably not.
I don't know if we need any 10 at all to explain the proposal. I mean, there are probably lots of details in the dredging that are not in this list.
Well, I guess I'm not sure we need to call out that the shallow areas will allow aquatic invasive plant growth. I mean, that's not really that relevant to dredging.
it's happening anyways, right?
Well, I think that's what we talked about, though. We talked about you know, we're gonna have this dredge area. And it's only in the areas that it's greater than 8 feet that you're gonna see that benefit of dredging. The edges are going to be subject to, you know, additional aquatic growth.
Well,
But I
just
would
take
agree, I
out-
think that you could just delete
take-
10. I don't think
Just
it's,
take out invasive. It'll allow aquatic plant growth.
Delia, I agree. I would take out 10 completely. It just, because you can leave it in there, it probably requires a lot more detail, but then maybe that level of detail is too much for,
Well, people have had questions about what the dredge profile is going to be for the slopes, so I think that's probably why that was added in to try to address some of those questions.
That's
Okay.
true.
yeah,
That came up a couple of times.
okay.
Maybe we can just rework that. All right. I'm happy to do that. I'll do it. Okay. I'll reword it.
Let me just go back to 6 for a second. New sediment samples. Do you want to say for what purpose? Is it for the permit? Is it for the arsenic issue? I'm not sure. Or maybe it's just okay what it is.
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
and I'm not sure it's physical analysis that's required. I think it's just chemical. Did you put this in, Keith?
Um, I apologize. I think if I did, I forgot to turn on the track changes, but I don't. It's possible I did a while ago.
Okay, does everybody know where the track changes is? So,
No, not really. I'm not very good
okay.
at it.
Yeah.
So do you see up here on the right where it has the little edit bar?
Yes.
It says there are 3 choices and it should be suggestions.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think sometimes you've done it, Chris.
Well, you know, and I've been back and forth and
Yeah,
if you look over to the left a little bit, there's a plus sign. I've used that and it doesn't seem to work. And I'll tell you what,
this is a comment, like like sometimes, like I've highlighted things and then you hit that and you could write a comment that's specific
Okay.
to that.
okay.
But this suggesting
Okay.
this area is gonna help with just making sure that then everybody can remember who wrote what.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I apologize. I'm not that.
No, that's okay.
with
That's
this.
okay.
So what is the purpose of the chemical? I know that the old data,
Well,
is that for the
right, the
permit?
purpose of, so, I think it's just chemical analysis, and I will look into this. But I think that, chemical analysis, it's only valid for 3 years to see what contamination the sediments might have. And so I'm not sure that physical analysis, because that's really, to me, physical analysis is grain size and, you know, that sort of thing.
Right, I
But
understand that.
I'll
But
I'll look into
is that for permitting,
Yes.
disposal or both?
both.
Okay, so I think you
So-
should probably say that for purposes of permitting, chemical samples are needed. That was my comment. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay, good.
chemical.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did have a question about this. We've talked about this, but we're putting this under assumptions. Is that, we don't cost that out anywhere? Do we think this is something that's required? Do we think it's a good idea? is it will be or should be?
So would that be for purposes of deciding where to dredge? I mean, is that?
Yeah,
No, okay,
I mean, that's what I think you would do that for.
yeah,
That makes sense, right? So in determining where to dredge.
and would that be an update of previous surveys that were used to define the original dredge plan?
They have not been done in many years.
Okay,
And I would say should, I don't,
Okay,
and 12 might be able to be combined with 6.
yeah.
I'll look at that. I mean, I think,
that was our proposal for the presentation, just to give a sense of what it could look like.
right, but we were gonna, so it's not clear to me from this. And I like doing graphics, so I would happily do this. But it's not clear to me that this would be a dredge area.
Where? The purple?
This, nope, the uncolored bit with all the sampling points.
Wasn't that part of the original dredge area?
Yep,
That, and if you look up above the red, I think that was a part of the original dredge area.
right.
I think that's what that means.
So do we want to redo this graphic to make that more clear?
I think you need to identify those as alternative 1 and then alternative 2. They're kind of cumulative. So the black area would be alternative 1, but it also it would be all it would be included in all alternatives, right? And then the others would just I think you have to align those with the alternatives.
Right, because the purple would be the original plus the purple to make the 50, and then the red would be to make you would add that on to make the 100,000.
That's alternative 3 only. Purple would be alternative 2, but
It would be the plus that, wouldn't be only that, it would be include that as well.
right. Well, the black area would be alternatives 1, 2, and 3, right?
Yep,
Correct.
right.
And I would just label as conceptual locations because
Right, that's a good,
conceptual dredge locations, yeah.
okay, so regarding these 2 monitoring wells in the North Field, it said it would be helpful to understand if these are groundwater wells. If not, I mean, how can we find out more information about these wells and
I
what
thought
the
Jeff
depth
Quick was going to
groundwater-
look into that.
Was he?
I thought so.
He said his contact at DOT is not there anymore, so I actually left them a message and tried to get in touch with them, and no one ever responded. I don't have any contacts there.
Okay. So I think it's okay that we identify this and we don't have to have, in my opinion, an answer to it right this second.
No, not right this second, but
or as part of our proposal. I think we just need to identify that this is, it's any recommendations for additional fact finding, and this is something that needs additional
Does say additional,
understanding. Yep.
okay. Maybe, and maybe Jeff can help us with that when we talk to him. But that was all good. Added in a little more history. And Bruce, I added in your your written response. But that would be important to have in here.
Okay, I'm looking at it right now.
Hope you're okay with that.
Yes. That's fine.
Thank you.
So I should just be accepting changes as we're saying these are okay. Okay,
Okay. Thought it was important to add something about the scouts specifically.
Mhm.
Well, they're gonna be able to canoe kayak from maybe 3 points, right? Giroux, Commonwealth, and
That's
Pond.
true, but that's true. We
But
could
wh-
add,
But
we
if
could
we,
add,
but if we remember, one of the things is that with the Giroux, it was more about the access, making sure that they could get those kayaks down. So it's about the ease of access. I think we want to sort of focus on the ease of access for the scouts, the places where
okay,
that's gonna
that's
happen.
true.
Yeah,
right. 'Cause basically, he was saying that was the only place that would be good for him to bring like those 8 canoes and drop them off and to have all those people
Yeah.
to be able to access the water from there.
Yeah, the
True.
Pond Street access isn't great for that, so it really
Right.
is calm out.
Right.
yeah, so it's okay, Lee, yeah.
But I wasn't sure about this because this is talking about, really about ADA.
Well, we're supposedly that the ADA access should be from Giroux Park and also from, the ComAv point. But I thought it was just important to point out that it's the park is accessible to the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail. And that the pond then would therefore be have access to the pond through the rail trail, through Giroux. And the pond, the access at Giroux is supposed to be ADA compliant. Some of the paths are ADA compliant. I don't know, that was my thought behind it anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the dredging per se that increases the mobility and accessibility, it's Giroux, because whether it's dredged or other alternatives, it's kind of all the same, right?
Right.
Sorry, before we go there, there's a bunch of things here. Can I, okay, but, well, I guess nope, never mind. they're just not in line. Okay, so accepts this?
I mean, I think so, I added it.
Yep. Paul, you seem to be in favor, Keith?
Um, I, I guess as long as people agree it doesn't confuse the question, I guess.
Mm,
Yeah, I don't think it's, I personally don't think it's answering the question,
Yeah,
but I recognize the point, Chris, and why you added this in.
right,
but strictly speaking, the dredging alternative doesn't increase mobility and accessibility. It's not the dredging that does it.
right.
Right. So I mean, for me,
I'm fine either way.
yeah, I mean, for me, it's really a no from a dredging point of view.
But would it be more of a, that we would recommend that any access point? I mean, from the dredging perspective, it's like the ADA compliance, it's like one of the pieces is, it may not answer the question, but we would recommend that any additions for access be ADA compliant. Or does it just not fit
What
at
if
all?
we
I mean, I
said
think-
this? What if we said this? Any,
Delia, in the
Sure.
Commonwealth, in the original plan for improving the Commonwealth access point, was that an ADA compliant access or not?
yes,
Okay,
at your road?
no, not at Troy, at Commonwealth Ave, the original.
Yes, at Commonwealth Ave, yes.
Okay, so yes, I think part of this overall plan, it does improve access. So I disagree with myself, and I would include that in there.
Okay, so what if we say, yes, the Commonwealth boat launch improvements include an ADA accessible, I have to look, I'll look at this.
Yeah, well, it's both Commonwealth Avenue and Giroux. Both of those access points would be an improvement
Right,
in accessibility. But my point is not the dredging per se, but it is part of this whole proposal, so it probably should be in there.
right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna delete this. Gonna go to, this made sense to me.
Yeah.
Yes, that's fine.
So is the riffle pool system the same as the previous terminology? If we have the step pool,
Yeah,
we just need to be consistent with terminology there.
Good point.
stepped pool might be more clear to those not that familiar.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I guess we're not really talking about the letter from Brad, so is there a reason we don't want to reference that?
You know what I would suggest is that we put that up in or down where we talk about,
people that
Uh,
we invited in or utilized.
yeah. Although I guess it wasn't something that the task force or the dredging subgroup, they didn't consult with Brad Chase. So, no, I don't have a problem referencing the letter, but I think we just need to say more than just we're referencing the letter.
Well, why don't we put it in the area where, like I said, when we referenced, that we spoke with, you know, the other gentleman that we dealt with. It says, I think it's just a little bit higher, a little bit above this. Who did we talk with? Who
Because
did
we did not, the dredging subgroup and the task force did not talk to Brad Chase.
No,
That
we
was the
did.
board's
We looked at didn't we look at his letter?
I don't think that's experts that we consulted, and that's what the, you know, that's the, where is it? I don't think, oh yeah, there it is. Oh no, I'm at the top. If you consulted any experts. And I actually feel quite strongly that we did not consult, you know, that was something that the Warner's Pond Task Force did. And if the task force or this group had consulted with Brad Chase, I think it would have been a different conversation and letter that we would have received.
What about the conversation we had? Was it with Dan Stapleton, on the elevation? Should that be included in here? I mean, that was some public comment rather than, but you know, it's an expert, public expert comment. I don't know.
I think it's public comment.
Yeah.
Like I
Does
said,
it,
I'm just
does it
wondering what,
impact does it impact our proposal at all? I don't think so at this point.
No, and I think from, you know, Brad Chase's letter, I mean, he has, I think the relevant pieces for me from that are that you could put in fish passage, you know, at the dam, which that's the relevant piece. If the
Yeah.
dam stays, then, you know, that's what we need to be considering.
Well, he is an expert in that field.
He is, but we did not consult with him.
Okay.
Hmm.
It's up to you guys. I mean, I
don't think-
do feel pretty strongly about that, but
I don't think we need that in here.
Hmm.
I mean, I think we should indicate the experts if it impacts this proposal.
Yeah.
And that's a criteria. I don't think that does. And I think Stapleton's comments as the public, I don't think it affects the proposal. It may, you know, ultimately it may affect the execution of the dredging, but it's not part of the proposal.
right. Yeah. So are we okay with these two comments?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, did I miss it? Do we indicate we're proposing to dredge more deeply than the original proposal? Is that
Yes, that
We
is in
said
there.
that at the beginning.
it was okay? Sorry, missed it.
Okay.
So I deleted this, because I didn't think it was relevant to our dredging proposal. It's also not accurate. I think it's true at the higher flood events, but not the lower.
then-
But dredging does not improve the resilience. As far as I can tell.
So, but one of the aspects of taking the dam down, I think, or leaving the dam is that people were concerned about flooding.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you take the dam down or not, like you said, and high flood times, it doesn't matter. It's whether the dam is there or not, it's still gonna come up the same, still gonna flood basically the same amount.
At higher storm events, but I think that's irrelevant to the question about whether dredging will improve the resilience. That's what we're being asked to answer here.
I agree.
Dredging. Dredging has no impact on resilience.
yeah,
Right.
all right.
But this was a good addition.
Okay,
Everyone okay with this?
Yeah.
looks good.
I think the greenhouse gas pieces.
It's, you know,
I-
like I
it's-
said, I put this, I put something together and this was a while ago now. And, you know, it was just a skeletal. So, you know, if people want to add on to it, if you think that, Paul, I'm sure that you could add a lot more detail into this. Is that what you were suggesting, that it's not enough?
No, I was suggesting the answer is no.
Oh,
I mean, because it's marginal at best. I mean, if the only thing is sequestering on the shelf, I'd argue that we're really stretching that. Dam removal is going to have an impact because it's just more land mass. I think dredging is, if creation of the shelf is the only point, you couldn't measure that if you tried. Maybe margin. If you want to leave that in there, it's marginal, the best.
how about that?
I mean, that's complicated. I don't know if we're actually able to accurately fully assess either answer, but
So do you just want to say no?
I think it's
I was trying to be,
maybe the answer is marginal, or it's either no or marginal. I'm not sure you need the detail. Greenhouse gas increasing temporarily during dredging operation because of exhaust. I mean, again, it's
and use of fuels and,
yeah, but it's let's not pretend it's China.
I hear you. I
Yeah,
do.
it's
About that.
well, no, I think you should just say marginally. Very marginally is a little. It's not.
I'd say very marginally and just leave it at that. I think the detail is
Well, I think it's important that we describe why we think it is one or the other, unless it's very clearly that it's just a flat no or a flat yes.
There's just so many factors to actually understand that answer. I think it's a bit complicated for this proposal. And I agree overall, it's probably pretty marginal given the size and how the setting of the pond.
if you want to say inconclusive, that might be maybe a better hedge, but I don't want somebody to look at this and say, really? Come on, guys, you're really stretching.
Of that.
Yeah, I like that. Because that sounds exactly what a conversation is, inconclusive. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll fix that later. I was gonna add more here, but I don't really have anything more to say on that unless other people, if other people going through this before we meet one more time briefly, if people want to add. That would be good.
Okay.
So Keith, you had put in CPA funds and I just reworded that a little bit.
Well, in light of what we're seeing from the, do we stop here and take a look at the cost estimates? Do they impact this section?
Sure. Yes, I think they do start
Yes.
impacting the next.
Yeah, it feels like they do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do.
I know.
Yeah, they,
Okay. So let me pull those up.
But that was a downer.
Yes, it was.
oh, yes, absolutely. Especially because we can only assume that Star Met is gonna take all the material, and that has to happen no matter what anyway.
And I think we can. I mean, I think that's a safe assumption. And I did ask Sumco to
Well, you took
Is
that
this-
out. You took that out of the number, right?
yes.
Yes,
So I asked them to take it out of the number, but they didn't take it out of the assumptions here. That will change.
yeah,
later.
they highlighted it in the report, right? Is that what
They did.
Except
So,
those-
You're not sharing anymore, dealer.
oh, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Okay, so this is gonna be revised to say it would require no tip fee, trucking, or excavation costs. That only will come out. And that is reflected, as you said, Bruce, in the bid.
Yeah.
So the excavation and trucking, that would be of the subsoil under alts 1 and 2, are not included. And so essentially what we have is the base bid at 5 million. And, I don't know if he would be available to talk to the group or the task force. But he, I did have a conversation with him about these numbers after I got this today. And, he said, this is what it would bid at today if it were to go out, on the street. He's talked to, people who do this, they do this. He's got some guy in New Jersey that they work with, and another guy here in Massachusetts that he was running numbers with. And so it's also, looking at Charter's bid from the 2022, there's some similarities. I mean, the MOB, DMOB was, we can go through that if people want to, but this is what we're looking at from this cost estimate is a 5 million base bid for the 35,000 yards. And then,
I have a question.
yep,
When you spoke to him, did he address what the preliminary design escalation line item was?
yeah, he just tacked on a 10%.
Oh,
Is that known as a contingency or what?
No, that's not a contingency. That is, contingency would be above and beyond that. We did not ask them to scope a contingency.
We're just familiar. What is a design escalation, Keith? What is?
There's,
Oh, no,
it's
that's why I'm
so
asking.
early. It is so early. There are no plans. They're not working with any plans. And so there's a lot of uncertainty about what they're bidding. And so the earlier that you are in design, the more you are going to buffer in costs that are unforeseen.
Okay, so yeah, I called it contingency, but it's really uncertainty.
It's both. I mean, a contingency is
Yeah,
Your
no, I know.
bid doesn't
Contingency is
go
when-
out for 2 years, and so you build in the inflation costs, and that's more of a contingency. But a design escalation is that we have a concept. We don't have plans.
What strikes you as weird about this? I mean,
Well, that escalation cost kind of jumped out at me. We're just trying to get a cost for right now. Like, I don't know why we need to escalate cost to some unknown future. I mean, that's gonna be handled later, but I guess I'm looking at the cost per cubic yard to dredge is $50. That's like more than double what I would have expected. So I guess I would caveat that. And I do think it would be really important to get an RFI response from Charter. I know there's some low bid standard with the town, but this isn't an actual contract. Like I think we should justify getting a Charter's RFI at this point because there's just too many variables here that are can drastically change the final price that we're looking at.
Hmm.
To get a sense of like a low and a high or see how similar they are. It's based on this, I think it would be really important to get Charter's RFI.
So we can't get an RFI. I did check with finance about that. It has to be reissued as an RFQ because they came in above. So 10,000 and over requires an RFQ. So if we want to issue an RFQ, then we would have to do that. But we cannot ask Charter to provide a response to this because they came in, so their bid is, or their quote is rejected because it was too high to be considered under best business practices, which is what anything under 10,000 is considered. So I think it's a question to ask the task force if they want to, you know, and Chris, you and I have talked about this. And, you know, this is something I think the dredging subgroup can think about whether or not to request from the task force to, you know, consider getting a quote now, and it would go back out through the same process to get a second cost estimate.
well, I'm just thinking, so for the next meeting, if this affects our proposal, I mean, for example, does it knock out alternatives, but just based on cost reasonableness, or do we just kind of present the whole thing? And
I would suggest you present the whole thing, and this is because this is what this group has been working towards, is
Yeah.
to understand, you know, with an unrestricted field location, what does that look like? And then let the task force have that conversation. And I think, you know, this group can advocate for whatever it wants. If it thinks it makes, you know, if you think it makes sense to get another cost estimate. I mean, I would, my sense is that, you know, Charter came in high on the dredging bid. We all knew it was high. They came in high on the cost estimates by a factor of 3. I'd be surprised if you get a lower.
But that's a bit misleading. That was all assuming the material was being dumped at a, just, you know.
Understood. No, Keith, I understand that, but I'm saying that when we got that bid, we knew that they were throwing a number at the wall and seeing what would stick. you know, I think I've told this group that Charter called me, you know, the day after we reject, or, you know, the bids close, and they said, we can get this number down for you. And I said, well, how can you do that? We'll put it back out for bid. And they said, no, that's proprietary. And so, you know, I know their number was high. I know that. But I also look at, you know, Sumco gave us a quote for these cost estimates at $3,500. Sumco gave us a cost estimate for these dredging cost estimates at $10,000. So I don't think you're going to see that Charter is going to give you a lower estimate than what you're getting from Sumco on, but
Well, their
that is my sense.
Charter's bid
all.
is somewhere around $25 a cubic yard to dredge the southern area. So I would think their rate would be similar to that. And I guess I'm a little surprised to see with the additional quantities added on, the rate doesn't change. I thought maybe it would go down a little bit for an efficiency.
But there's no efficiency. You're doing the same work and more of it. It's not like, I mean, sometimes there is that efficiency, but not when you're dredging. You're just dredging more, and it's more time, it's more material. And there's no change in the mobilization. You know, that there's no efficiency in additional work that is being done.
Well, I think you're right, Keely. We have to present the numbers as we have it and ask the task force. You know, we could go back for other bids, or we could just assume based on this bid, Keith, that maybe that number is not 50, it's 25, and maybe the 500,000 goes to zero. But then you're still talking about 3.7 million. So, you know, it's and
That
I think we
could
got
break or break
think-
the project. So I mean that's significant.
yeah, it still limits us probably to the base bid here and nothing more adventurous. But I think our job right now is to present to the task force what we're finding, and what we're finding is
Right.
it would be great to consider these three alternatives, but the cost reality is X, Y, and Z, and I don't think we should make a final decision on what the task force is going to think about this.
Right.
I don't think we can make that final decision, but it just seems interesting that it went up so much, you know, from $25 to $50. But I don't know what we can do about that.
I mean, no, we don't have anything to do with it. This is what the contractors say it is.
So I guess it really comes down to the question of, you know, can we get more CPA funds? And the question is, what do we want to happen here? Do we want the dam to stay, or do we want to knock the dam down, or do nothing? So I guess we're back to those.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to keep my dredge group blinders on here.
Right.
For the moment, I think that's what we got to do. But even with the dredge group blinders, I think best case base scenario would be sort of in the $3.5 to $4 million range. Even if we got the $50 down, and if we get rid of the contingency, and then yeah, and maybe it'd be feasible at that rate to find more funds, but that's not our call. So I think I don't know. If I were to present this to the task force, I'd say here are the numbers, and it's possible that the base bid is a little bit overblown, and we might be able to get lower numbers, but the lower number is not going to get you down to 2.5 million. right? I think.
Yeah.
There's no way that that's gonna happen, and probably considering those alternatives, is interesting, but probably not feasible. But, you know, I don't know. I don't know, Chris, I don't know what messaging we want to give to the task force when we present this, but I think we have to be open and transparent, pretty honest about it.
Right. I mean, I think the other thing that we should point out as well is that they're talking about using geotubes. And I think we've all learned over the course of this year that geotubes is, you know, the most expensive way to dredge. So I guess we could also say, well, this is based on using geotubes. Maybe there's an opportunity to lower the price by, you know, doing something other than using geotubes. I mean, I don't know enough about how dredging works.
So, and I did ask him about that because I put into the RFI, if you recall, use the lowest cost erosion and sedimentation controls. And, you know, he sent something back with geotubes and I said, we know those are expensive. And he said, they might be the most expensive up front, but if you don't use geotubes, you're going to end up with a pond that does not dewater, you know, for a very long period of time. And then you've got all this additional stone swales and settling basins. And he said over the life of the project, it is far more expensive to maintain those over the life of the dredging project. And that's one contractor's perspective. So, you know, Charter might say something different. They might say you can put up some straw bales and, you know, call it a day. I don't, you know, I mean, I don't think it's that, I'll just leave it at that. So I think really what we need to do at this point is take a little bit more time to finalize the proposal. We now have a cost estimate that I think needs to get reflected in the proposal. And I think we just need to meet one more time before the 10th to you know, review changes that we can all make into the document.
When can we meet anyways? I think that's a good idea. 10th is Tuesday.
So is
Okay.
there any availability to do like lunch meetings for people? I know everybody is busy and everything else, but I have a lot of night meetings between now and the 10th. And so if there's any chance of doing something during the day for a meeting, that would be really helpful for me. And I don't have to be at the next meeting if it doesn't work.
I have availability next week at certain times during the day, you know.
So we meet on the 10th with the task force, or our proposals are due on the 10th.
Right?
We've got basically Thursday, Friday, and Monday at this point.
Oh. Oh, you mean this week? Okay, I'm out of sync here.
Right.
Friday, I could
I'm
do.
good any of those days.
Friday's probably best for me during the day for like a lunchtime thing.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Keith. Yeah, definitely Friday. Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, Friday morning looks good for me sometime.
So I have something between 12:30 and 2 on Friday, but I am free. I have an 8 o'clock. But I'm free between 9 and 12:30.
That works for me.
Go for 10 o'clock on Friday. Does that work for people?
It works for me. How about you, Keith?
I got
Do we
a
have enough time to get that posted?
other calendar.
Oh,
No,
No, I just thought of that.
No, we don't.
So it would have to be Monday. What does anyone
So
have
it has to
Monday?
be Monday. Monday, I'm available at 3 or later.
I'm not available from 5 on Monday, 5 to probably 10. But I could do, I guess, 3 to 5.
I
Yeah,
could do.
I can do that. Monday during the day is a little full for me. But 3 o'clock on is okay.
Works for me. Paul, is
Yeah.
that good for you?
Uh, oof. Yeah, I'm free from 3 to 5 on Monday.
Okay, I'll send something out for 3 o'clock on Monday.
Okay.
So
And then maybe in the interim, we could just all take a little bit of time to take one last look through and any final edits that people
That would be
want to
good.
make to the document. Just do it in tracking mode so we can. And if there are things that we've discussed today and I didn't accept them, just go ahead and accept them. So it's a little cleaner for the next time we go through it.
Chris, can you send me the link again? I kind of lost the Google link, so I'm
I could do that.
yeah. So,
Okay. All right, well, guess there's nothing else to say.
Well, I think it's a, you know, I'm in agreement with Paul. Yes, there's a cost there, but our task as the dredging subgroup is to bring forward everything that we have, because it's not a matter of will the task force go for it. It's a matter of, as overall as a task force, what are we going to recommend? And then the task force as a whole, what are we going to recommend? So we still have our task to complete. But even with the reality of cost, even with all of those other pieces, because really it's still going to be a feel of what are they going to put forward as a task force. We're all members, 3 of you are voting members, but the task is the task of completing a dredging proposal. And we do have to put on the blinders. It's, you know, I think we saw some disappointing numbers, but disappointment also can be opportunity. So let's look at that as that would be just my recommendation. Don't get completely down on it.
I like your positive attitude, Bruce.
Well, and it's really interesting because I just wrote a letter to the town of Barry for a position around a dam that's had a breach, an old reservoir. And, you know, thankfully it's in the middle of nowhere with just a couple of, you know, abutters. But when you look at that, it's like really the damage downstream, if it broke, it's nothing like this at all. I was so happy that it was nothing like this. I have to tell you. But, you know, the reality is, it's the reality of where we're at. And even with that, it's like, it's still going to be the town citizens that are going to kind of come up and say, hey, this is, you know, we saw you did a bunch of proposals. Nope, we're not going to do that. We want you to give us and let us look at the other ones. You never know. That could happen. So just keep upbeat and we'll see where it goes.
yeah, and look, the purpose of what we're doing is to increase the positivity here is to help guide the task force in the direction that is, I don't know, reasonable, affordable, conceptually, you know. So I think that this information is going to guide, is going to explicitly, implicitly is going to move the needle,
Absolutely.
right? So that's what we want to do. We can't be in a 3 alternative stalemate forever. Right?
Right.
True. And I guess the other question too is, you know, what we need to be perhaps creative about where we can get financing. You know, and that, you know, that's another avenue to pursue.
Well, yeah, I mean, that could be the task force decision. We need to go this alternative. every other turn, it's not working, and the solution is we need to wait till we get the money to do it. You know, that could be a decision.
Right,
And the reality is there's a historical and an ecological impact. And that, you know, that's what you're leaving the decision. If you go back to when I talked about seventh generational thinking, is the decision we make has to be thought of what's it going to look like into the future. And that there is a historical piece here and there is an ecological piece here. And are we meeting that? You know, not are we saving all of our money for the next time around. Sometimes the investment outweighs everything else. So it's really thinking about it, you know, into the future.
right.
Well said.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I guess we'll end on that positive note, Bruce. Thank you so much. And we will ask if there are any public comments. Is there any public
Public.
here? Okay, so with no public comments, and we'll end the meeting now then at close the meeting at 7:18.